Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Mammal Monday. Today we're going to be talking about Diprotodontia. So, Diprotodontia has 11 families, almost 40 genera, and 143 species. It's one of just 4 Australian orders of marsupials, but they make up the largest order, which let me move my little thing, and you can see a bunch of different examples of animals that are in Diprotodontia. This is all under the infraclass Metatheria. So you see there's different kangaroos, possums, sugar gliders, other kinds of possums, koalas, and wombats. So lots of different kinds. But there's a couple commonalities between them. Well, one of them is that they all live in Australia, first of all. I was going to say they all have marsupiums, but I'll get to that soon. They do all have little pouches. Koalas favor eucalyptus, so they eat the leaves and the buds, which are also in Australia. Kangaroos usually jump around in the scrub regions. Tree kangaroos are in Guinea and Papua, and then gliders and possums are in other different niches around Australia. So some physical characteristics that make them different from other mammals is that they have large front teeth, which diprotodontos means 2 teeth. They exhibit synodactyly, which is where digits, here I'll move my thing, right here, if you see where I'm circling, digits 2 and 3 of only the hind feet, and all of them are fused except for the claws, which is interesting. You see that in humans, but it's obviously not normal. But it would be like if we had, I can't even do that. Why can't my brain do that? If we had that fused together, which is a mutation that some people have. You can look it up. It's crazy. I think there's a surgery where they basically cut the membrane between it. But they all, like I said earlier, have a marsupium, and they are all diprotodonts, which means they have a single pair of incisors that dominate the lower jaw, and then sometimes an additional pair. Some physical characteristics, or some feeding habits. Most of them are herbivores, but some of them will eat insects for extra protein, just because being an herbivore doesn't give you a ton of protein. Koalas have evolved to get nutrients from eucalyptus trees and buds, or leaves and buds, like I said earlier, and they sleep a lot just because eucalyptus trees and buds, or leaves and buds, don't give a ton of energy, so you find koalas sleeping a lot for that reason. Some have also been specialized to feed on sap and nectar, some of the different kinds of possums. They're really cute. I have a picture later on. Some natural history facts. I'll move my thing back down. That wombat is so cute. So they are either on land or in trees. These two are on land, but like sugar gliders and tree kangaroos and koalas they're arboreal, so they're all in trees. And kangaroos exhibit saltatorial locomotion. This gives a good example. It's basically just jumping. The female also, for the gestation period, is about 30 days before the baby is born. But obviously the baby is super underdeveloped, and it's only big enough or developed enough to climb through the marsupium to the teat so that they can grow and get nourishment from the milk. But they're completely blind and hardly developed. They're about the size of jelly beans, which is crazy small. Some fun facts is I have a video of this on, I believe, the next slide, but wombats use their butts as their main form of defense from predators because they burrow into holes that I think get to be 100 feet in length. They're crazy. They basically, I'll show the video, but they stick their butts up, and the butts have a limited amount of nerve endings. I'll show it, but it's really interesting. A group of wombats is called a wisdom, which is really cool. And like I said, kangaroo joeys are the size of jelly beans, which again is tiny. Kangaroos, because of their anatomy, cannot move backwards, which is funny. And then sugar gliders live in huge colonies, about 20 to 40 individuals, with 2 alpha males that father almost all the offspring. So the video, it'll start.
Their butt cheeks, on the other hand, are a wonder on their own. They are composed of very strong bone plates which work as a protective shield. On top of that shield there is a layer of fat, skin and fur. When in danger of a predator, the wombat will dive into their burrow with their shield of a butt outside. This is because they don't feel any pain if they get bitten or scratched, as their butt contains very few nerves. But what happens when the predator is too stubborn to leave the wombat alone? They will have to deal with the world's deadliest butt. The wombat will flatten its body out, leave a gap between their back and the roof of the burrow. When the predator reaches inside that gap, the wombat will then drive its butt upwards, crushing the predator's skull against the roof of its burrow. Yes.
So, really interesting. Wombats also produce square, like cubic poop. Like their feces isn't cubes, so they can stack them and basically give a show to either potential mates or to other like males coming into their territory. They can stack them easier, and it's still not super known as to why it comes out in a cubic form, but it does. And it goes, I know it goes through a really long intestinal pathway. It takes, I think, like 6 to 7 days for food to move through. So that combined with the fact that it's so dry and just such a long pathway makes it into cubes, which is really interesting. But here are my sources for this presentation. Stay tuned for the next one. It'll be Furry Friday next time. So stay tuned for that.